Hello, this is Eileen, the environmental educator. And in this video, we're going to talk about this article right here that as if Americans don't have enough working against them now, activists petition the EPA to restrict the use of home and commercial furnaces by 2030. A coalition of 26 climate change, public health, and environmental justice advocacy organizations formally petitioned the EPA to regulate air pollution produced by residential and commercial heating appliances, a move that would require homeowners and businesses to swap out heating and hot water furnaces. Oh, okay. Just what Americans need is one more thing, noting that oil and gas fueled boilers that provide heating and hot water in homes, offices, schools, hospitals produce between 9 and 10% of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions and release nitrogen oxide, which can cause respiratory problems. The coalition called for the agency to issue rulings mandating emission-free residential and commercial home and heating appliances by the end of the decade. So, yeah, Americans just plan on one more radical change. But you know what? The scary thing about this one is it's not just the government breathing down your neck. The EPA, which has just been told by the Supreme Court that they've overstepped their bounds and they're regulating things that they don't have the right to be regulating. I mean, we have a coalition of 26 groups encouraging our government to put a bigger boot down people's necks and throats, and it's everybody's, homeowners and businesses, heating and hot water furnaces. That's in everything. Yes, well, the groups say it's to protect public health and achieve the added benefit of advancing the occupation's carbon reduction goals. And the EPA must set zero emission standards for such appliances by 2030. The groups include the Sierra Club, U.S. PIRG, Environment America, and Physicians for Social Responsibility. Now, I've hit up the Sierra Club and PIRG, a bunch of different PIRGs. There's a bunch of them. Um, Somewhat over the years, since I've been doing this since November '93, the solutions the world needs that this coalition isn't talking about at all. You would do a gazillion times better with ending our disposable society, getting people literate, getting people, to just make responsible changes, and hemp. I mean, the Sierra Club, I've hit them up, and they're like, "What? No, we're about forests." I'm like, "No, you're not. You put your nose in everything." And PERG, they, like everybody else, if you actually have solutions, that you don't hear from these people. But had anybody, allowed solutions, these these people wouldn't be out here trying to make Americans' lives even more difficult, while they're out there, proclaiming that they're doing it for environmental justice and for the future and for the kids, while the rest of everything the kids need's future is falling apart around them. I mean, this is so just ridiculous. It says what this would mean is, in practice, that the EPA would set a first ever standard limiting the amount of nitrous oxides that residential and commercial heating systems can produce on grounds that emissions-free heating systems such as electric heat pumps are widely available. So yeah, now this whole article really is about these nitrous oxides. It's not even about greenhouse gas emissions really, but this is part of the occupation. They're out here pushing these electric heat pumps, and how many millions did people just distribute so that there's more environmental articles? So, people are getting paid to write articles in support of ridiculousness, while I assure you the occupation in the White House has and continues to refuse the solutions the world needs since their first presidential campaign for their first occupation. So the EPA hasn't indicated whether it would be likely to fulfill the request. When asked for comment, a spokesman said it will review the petition and respond accordingly. Yeah, maybe I should go to the head of the EPA, right? The equivalent of Gina McCarthy, who's now in the White House, who was a complete failure for decades. And not getting actual real solutions implemented for decades. And so, now we have activists like, oh my God, it's so bad. And this whole article really is about, the health aspect of it, these nitrous oxides, because they could cause asthma. I mean, you know what? We have to live, okay? And people need heating more so than cooling. But yeah, people need heating, and people need hot water. And you know what? The last thing people need is more government regulations down on their neck. But it says here that the oil and gas industry is almost certain to resist the implementation of new federal regulations. This isn't even law. It's just all of these federal agencies and all the bureaucracies in it and the bureaucrats. They just make up regulations which then become law, especially when these agencies weaponize themselves, because then they come knocking at your door at the barrel of a gun. And um, this is just ridiculous. If the EPA would get on solutions, actual real solutions, no, we're here. Are they talking about ending our disposable society? That would do a gazillion times more. And, not be the boot coming down on people's necks. But no, because these activists are idiots too. So, this just goes on that the gas industry will oppose it for its own reasons. And remember, like when gas started to be used for heating, it was because it was a clean energy, right? No, it's the best. It's the best. It's a clean energy. And now they're going to take that away from you too? Okay. And it's not by the government. It's by your fellow citizens who think they're being virtuous when they're not. Their solutions are ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So, the Sierra Club's person spoke, and they say, the Clean Air Act lays out, that the EPA can do some of what they want them to do, and to make the case, the petition garners evidence that nitrous oxides, which are emitted by chimneys when basement burners combust oil or gas, cause a slew of health harms. And the American Lung Association, um, nitrogen dioxide is the most dangerous pollutant in the group. It can cause increased inflammation in airways, worsen cough and wheezing, reduce lung function, increase asthma attacks, and greater likelihood of emergency department and hospital admissions. Okay, so, okay, but real solutions that would just really take away all of our abuses so that we could just live. And nothing's perfect. Okay, and zero emissions is never going to be zero emissions, and you need emissions for the trees and stuff. They breathe it in and they grow on it, and then they produce you oxygen. So this is just this is just really sad that these people think they're being virtuous, and they're just really out putting a boot on Americans' necks. Oh yeah, Americans are now being told you got to buy an electric vehicle. And yeah, and if that battery goes bad in 10 years, 12 grand to replace it. And just buy solar panels if your electricity and home heating's costing too much. And now by 2030, I mean, they break down some of the costs of these things of this is just, if you are free in America, okay, this is a lot of ridiculousness, and for time here, let's just get down to the end here. And the Sierra Club and its allies, they think that even just getting the public to think about the effect of gas boiler in their basement on climate change and outdoor air pollution would be a step forward. So even if they don't achieve anything with this, like they're going to get people to think about it. No, they're not. People don't think about this. Even if we don't get the regulation we want, it's still a win if the public is put on notice that these appliances are harming their health or their communities. Oh, okay. You're on notice. Like, oh my God. I mean, these kids are talking like juveniles. These adult groups are talking like juveniles. They're being People are being put on notice. Well, you can be put on notice all day long, and then you don't have to do anything. If we are free, you are free to, use whatever you want to keep yourself warm and to keep yourself in hot water. And the government shouldn't be the EPA, which has, as the Supreme Court just ruled, overstepped its boundaries. And if we just educated people and got people living responsibly, that would take care of so much of these problems, because people wouldn't think that they're being put on notice, but they would just be like, oh, well, all I have to do is make this simple change, and then and I can do that because then I took away my irresponsible action and I replaced it with the responsible one. So it's gonna make things better, and that's how you get, you know, responsible, real solutions, which no environmental voice has allowed for decades. And you don't need to be putting people on notice or putting a boot on their neck and a federal agency with, at the barrel of a gun. You didn't update your homie. Well, we don't have any money. Well, that doesn't matter. I mean, this is ridiculous. And what's ridiculous is this is coming not just from the federal agencies, which are putting enough boots on people's necks, but this is coming from your neighbors, from other American citizens. And they just think they're being virtuous, and they're idiots, and their solutions are valueless, which is why the EPA will respond. The EPA will never respond to me. But had they, problems would be solved by now. So stay tuned, people.